You guys, I am hyped for this season. Even without releasing a new legend, this is the biggest content dump we've gotten since season 7. And to make it even better, most of the changes are things we've wanted for a long time. Team Deathmatch, a casual mode playlist, an actual buff for Pathfinder, and so much more than I can cover in just this one video. If you want my first impressions, I did record a live stream on release day where I showed off some gameplay and shared my thoughts about the new season. So feel free to check that out after you watch this. I'm also going to have more scripted videos over the next month or so talking about the things that I personally find interesting. If there is something in particular you want me to cover, just leave a comment below and I'll see what I can do. But for now, I want to talk about what I think is the most important new feature, the class rework. What are these classes? What do they do? And why do I think they are the biggest change this season has to offer? To make this video work, I'm going to talk about each of the new classes one at a time in order of how much I think they will impact the game. That's right, this is both educational content and a tier list. The YouTube algorithm is going to hate me. Please hit the like button. To provide more context for each class, I'm going to be showing the pick rate for each legend at the end of season 15, since I think it's relevant when considering the abilities the classes were given. Anyway, let's get into it. First up, we have the new mobility class, Skirmisher, defined by respawn as often the first into a fight or the ones creating rotation opportunities for their team. And one look at this class will tell you everything you need to know about why they got put together. Wait, what the heck is Mirage doing here? As I was saying, one look at this class and it's immediately obvious why they got put together. These guys are often first to fight, first to die, and first to spam ping before leaving the game. No, but seriously, the Skirmisher class is where you go to experience what many would consider to be the most fun legends in the game, including my personal favorite legend, Pathfinder, who finally got some worthwhile buffs in the Revelry update. The shared perk for this class is revealing care packages. By staring at a care package either as it falls or when it's on the ground, skirmishers can determine what items are in that package, and they can also see when an empty care package was looted. This ability can give you an idea about your enemy's arsenal and also clues as to how far away an enemy who looted a care package might be. And that's about it. This isn't a completely useless perk. Information in a battle royale is always helpful. But to put it in perspective, Loba can already do half of this with her passive, and most players consider it to be more of a quality of life feature rather than a strong ability. So I consider this the least impactful of the new class perks. But this is also why I said that the legend pick rates would be helpful for analyzing these abilities. Because a quick glance at these legends pick rates will explain why their perk is so weak. In Apex Legends, mobility is king. Always has been, and maybe always will be. People just want to play what's fun. Excluding Mirage, all of these legends boast very high pick rates, with Path, Wraith, and Octane currently taking the top 3 slots and Horizon and Valkyrie not far behind. It's fair to say that these legends didn't need any extra help, which is why they didn't get any. But this ranking is about the impact of class abilities, not the legend fun factor. So for now, Skirmisher has a seat right here at the bottom. Really quick before we move on, I do want to touch on why Mirage is in this class. The first thing to point out is that Mirage is kind of all over the place in terms of his utility. His revive passive is a support ability, his tactical provides recon intel, and his ultimate can provide strong escape utility when used properly. With that said, even with his most recent buff, Mirage's abilities seem to be primarily beneficial for self-preservation, which is similar to the rest of the Skirmisher legends. He could arguably have been moved into the support class, but one of the more common arguments about Mirage is that he doesn't bring much to the team. In short, I think it's fine for him to be put into a catch-all class like this one. And who knows, maybe his recent changes will finally put an end to Macro's buff Mirage propaganda. Up next, we've got the Assault class, made up of legends whose common theme is throwable abilities. That'll be relevant here in a second. In Respawn's words, they use their abilities to force their opponents to make combat decisions that play to their advantage. Put more simply, the class is all about breaching enemy lines. To that end, they have 2 perks. The first one being that they can carry more ammo per stack. For light, heavy, and energy weapons, this means instead of an ammo slot holding 60 ammo, it'll hold 80. Shotguns and snipers also benefit from this perk, but to a lesser extent. And with that perk, a viewer as smart as yourself has probably already figured out why these guys are in this class. Say it with me on 3. 1, 2, grenade spam! That's right, I knew you were smart. 20 extra bullets may not sound like a lot, but what that actually means is that 3 slots will now give you the same amount of ammo as 4 slots on non-assault legends, which frees these guys up to hold more grenades. This is especially good for Fuse, Revenant, Ash, and Maggie. All of their tacticals are good for putting pressure on the enemy, so giving them an extra grenade slot will only add to that pressure. And for Fuse in particular, this functions as a pretty significant buff. In addition to the ammo increase, assault legends also gain access to a secret compartment of the red weapon supply bins. And if if you thought extra ammo was useful, how about guaranteed optics? That's right, for these legends, every red bin will open with 4 extra loot spaces, and one of those spaces is reserved for an optic that's guaranteed to match the needs of someone on your team. Honestly, this might be a reason for me to switch to maining an Assault Legend. I can't tell you how many games I've gone opening bin after bin only to end the game with literally no scope. But aside from my own totally unique nobody's ever experienced it struggle, this is a useful ability. The other 3 spaces will provide weapon attachments, again based on your team's loadout, and the minimum rarity for these attachments is blue. This could pose a problem for wingman lovers looking for an HCOG, but in most cases, this will function as straight up upgrades for your loot. It can even provide gold magazines and weapon hop-ups, which makes this perk a nice overall quality of life change for these legends. And as an added bonus, if the secret compartment is opened while no one on your team has a weapon will drop with 2 attachments for it. This makes it almost impossible for Assault Legends to start a game and not find a gun. For Fuse and Maggie who already have solid fun kits, these perks will just amplify their existing playstyles. The same is true to a lesser extent for Ash. As for Revenant, he can get some good value from pairing Thermites with his tactical to really clutter up the enemy screen, but I honestly wish he had gotten some changes outside of the class update to make his ultimate a little less of a death trap. And then there's Bangalore, the solo warrior and likely the most balanced legend in the game. She's going to be stronger this season, but not just because of these perks. The changes Respawn made to Seer and Bloodhound are absolutely doing her a favor. Overall, I'd say the new Assault perks are pretty good, but the class falls closer to the bottom because rather than bringing something new into the game, the perk simply amplifies playstyles that already exist. That isn't really a bad thing, but this is a list about how much these classes will impact the game. And to that end, we come to Support, which has one of the more interesting perks of the new classes for me as a Lifeline player. Respawn describes this class as looking for opportunities to protect, recover, or resupply their allies. I'm gonna take a quick tangent here and say that I'm glad Respawn has finally redefined this class. For a long time, players like me have been complaining that we never get more support legends, and certain defense legends seem to boast revive abilities equal to lifelines. Meanwhile, it was unclear why Loba was even in this class. With this new class system though, Respawn fixed both of those issues by providing a better definition for support and by moving Gibby and Newcastle into the class. The first perk of the support class is actually Lifeline's old passive to open a secret compartment on blue bins. But to further differentiate this from the assault passive, the blue bins have been updated to only provide heals and survival items. At first, this might seem like a nerf to the ability, but there are a few tricks to these bins that make this an improvement overall. First, the bins now have a higher chance to provide big heals. Remember what I said about red bins and my struggle to find optics? Replace optics with batteries and now you understand why this change is impactful. Secondly though, these bins are now marked on the map, which means that instead of them just being a nice surprise for Lifeline players, the bins can now be included as part of your rotation strategy when playing a support legend. And speaking of rotations, these bins also have a smart system for prioritizing survival items based on your situation. For example, if you're outside the ring with an empty survival slot, the bins will have an increased chance to drop a heat shield. This is a niche change, but for squads that like to play edge and need to make ring rotations, this can be very useful. The bins will also have a higher chance to drop mobile respawn beacons if you're carrying ally banners, and there's another reason why that's important. The second perk for the support class is the ability to buy ally banners from the crafter, and here's the good part, even if the banner is timed out. This is such an awesome change for so many reasons that I'll touch on, but first, I owe Loba Mains an apology. I once argued that she wouldn't get the ability to steal banners with her black market because unlike Crypto's drone, it has no counterplay. But with this change, it's clear that Respawn doesn't mind that issue. I was wrong and you guys were right. But this change does make that buff to Loba seem a bit more unlikely in my eyes. Back on topic though, both banners can be crafted for only 30 crafting materials, making it pretty likely that players will have enough materials to make use of the ability. As someone who plays a lot of Lifeline, I love this perk. Now when you're in a fight, your passive isn't the only option you have for keeping your team in the game. More importantly, if a fight seems unwinnable, you have the option to back out and reset. In combination with the movement speed increase on her auto res, this change is going to make Lifeline just a bit more unpredictable in fights. Of course, it goes without saying that these benefits are also true for Gibby, Newcastle, and Loba, with Loba having the added benefit of a mobility tool for escaping sticky situations. Since support legends should usually be playing near the back of the team, they're more likely to survive and escape fights, so this passive goes hand in hand with their playstyle, but also adds something new to the game. You might be wondering then why this didn't get placed higher on the list, and oh, well there you have it. The blue bin passive is helpful, but admittedly a bit niche, and while having a safer option to respawn teammates is nice, in pubs your teammates will probably leave as soon as they're downed. And in ranked, chances are if 2 of your teammates go down, you've already lost. There's also the ever-present issue that this ability relies on your teammates dying in order to get value. And while that value might be high, it's much better to never have to use the ability at all. Moving on. Some of you in the know will probably find it shocking that this class isn't sitting at the top, but you'll understand why soon enough. The Recon class is all about gathering intel and providing it to their team. Up until now, the Recon passive has been the ability to scan a beacon and learn the next location of the ring. I'll touch more on this later for what will become an obvious reason, but this passive has now been changed to instead mimic Crypto's town takeover. By scanning the survey beacons, you'll send out a pulse that reveals the position of everyone on the map for 30 seconds. Now I know, that sounds super powerful, and you're probably wondering, Kentaku, why isn't that at the top of the list? Well, I'm glad you asked. It all stems back to the single drawback of this ability. You see this circle right here? Everyone within that circle is going to be alerted that someone scanned the beacon. What makes this a problem is that these survey beacons are marked on the map, so everyone will not only know that you've scanned them immediately, but they'll also know where you are. And for those of you familiar with Crypto's map room, this might seem trivial. After all, everyone was alerted about the scan there too. But there's a key difference between the map room and these survey beacons. The map room survey console is in the middle of a building on the edge of Kings Canyon and activates almost immediately. That building has multiple exits and sight lines to most areas around it. Teams scanning at map room are typically at an advantage against those who might push. Survey beacons, on the other hand, are typically in unprotected locations on top of buildings where even the act of scanning them puts you at risk. If there are squads in your immediate area, they're going to have time to prepare before you push. And even though knowing their location is valuable, that alone won't win you fights if the enemy has superior positioning. Make no mistake though, this is still a very strong ability with interesting consequences. For starters, it can help bridge the gaps in information created by the recent nerfs to Seer and the Bloodhound rework. It also helps give Vantage and Crypto, who have lower pick rates, some added value. For Vantage, revealing her location isn't quite as risky because she can quickly reposition with her tactical to gain the upper hand. And for Crypto, the perk is actually a huge win for 2 major reasons. First, Crypto has the ability to determine if there are any enemies within 200 meters, so he can avoid scanning when enemies are nearby. Quick side note here, Bloodhound's new passive can also do this to an extent. What Bloodhound can't do is scan the beacon from a distance, but Crypto can. This is huge for Crypto because it means he can learn the location of every team on the map without ever revealing his team's position. I don't think this is going to suddenly make Crypto meta, especially in light of the Bloodhound changes, but I do think it will make people think twice when choosing between Crypto and Seer. With that said though, the fact this perk has so many drawbacks and only provides 30 seconds of information means that it can easily be wasted and that its value is fairly situational. But there is one ability that has unquestionable value. An ability so powerful that moving it to other legends in the past has completely altered the meta. And that ability now belongs to the Controller class. Allow me to introduce the most powerful perk in the game, the ability to see the next ring location. I am well aware there are those who will think this placement is crazy. They'll say things like, dude, that ability's already in the game. How can it possibly be the most impactful? And those people obviously don't watch the pros and have also never listened to the third-party podcast. Because if they did, they would know that this always has been and always will be the most impactful passive ability in the game. And if you still don't believe me, I'll explain why. Some of you Apex whelps may be too new to know this, but a long time ago when the game was young, only Pathfinder could scan the survey beacons. And the ability was so strong that even though his hitbox was terrible and for some reason he had low profile, Pathfinder was still played at high level and in ALGS. And do you know when Pathfinder started to fall off? Around Season 6, the same time Bloodhound started to increase in pick rate. And even though the pro team complexity certainly helped spur the change, I would argue much of the reason teams finally switched over to a Wraith Bloodhound Gibby meta is because Bloodhound was able to replace Pathfinder and read the survey beacons. Similarly, one of the main suggestions from high level players to nerf Valkyrie was to remove her ability to read the beacon because her ultimate combined with the ability to read the ring just felt too strong. At the end of the day, when it comes to Apex Legends, positioning wins games. And the best way to ensure good positioning, whether you like to play the middle or the edge of the ring, is to know where the ring is going to close. Yes, game sense can help you gauge the approximate location, but when it comes to final circle, even being off on your guess by a little bit can cost you the game. By now, I'm sure you see where I'm going with this. One of the reasons legends like Caustic, Watson, and Rampart have struggled so much was that they needed to make it to endgame, but had to rely on recon legends to get them there. There's nothing worse than locking down an area only to realize the spot you chose is just barely outside of zone and is now completely useless. With the creation of the Controller class though, that issue is going away. Now, the legends with the ability to hold down space also have access to the information needed to make them good at their jobs. As an added bonus, these new ring consoles tend to be placed in easier to reach places than survey beacons, and there seem to be more of them around, so the perk should see much more frequent use. While revealing enemy locations might be the most powerful ability for winning fights, revealing ring locations is the most powerful ability for winning games. And giving this ability to these legends in particular seems to have an ulterior motive. Like I said before, in Apex, movement is king. So as you might expect, legends like Caustic, Watson, Rampart, and Catalyst, who excel at not moving, tend to get left at the bottom in terms of pick rate. I would argue though that the real reason for this isn't that people don't find the legends fun, but that too often they find themselves set up in the wrong place and seeing no one. If you want proof, look no further than Winter Express. In that mode, these legends are all over the place because even more than moving fast, people like to win. And these legends are good at winning. The new controller perk gives these legends the tools they need to get into more fights and put themselves in winning positions. And even though it may not send them shooting to the top, I do think it will have a huge impact on their pick rates, especially in competitive play. But what do you think? Do you agree with my placements or would you move them around? Let me know in the comments below. Also remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.